Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Wikidata Lab number 34. Olá a todos, todas e todes. Bem-vindos e bem-vindas ao Wikidata Lab número 34. Essa apresentação vai ser conduzida em inglês pela wikimedista Sandra Fauconnier e ela vai... vou passar a bola para ela imediatamente. Essa apresentação se chama OpenRefine e Structured Data on Commons. Então, vamos lá, vou passar para a Sandra. Olá, Sandra, bem-vinda, muito obrigado pela sua presença, pelo seu tempo e disponibilidade. Welcome, Sandra. Thank you for your time and availability and your work with OpenRefine and Structured Data on Commons. And I will give the presentation to you.
Thank you so much, Heather. Hi, everyone, and I'm super happy to be here. I think it's my third time in the Wikidata Lab, and always related to, I think, structured data. And yeah, now I'm working with OpenRefine, and I will talk about OpenRefine and Structured Data on Commons, as Heather already introduced, for I think an hour and a half. Let's see how long it takes. Others told me that some people in here might not have used OpenRefine before. So I will actually start with introducing the tool a little bit, talking a little bit about what OpenRefine is. And then I will go on to talk about, what you can do with OpenRefine and Wikimedia Commons, Structured Data on Commons. And I will also demonstrate some things. Just practically, we are here in StreamYard, which is a streaming service. And I think I can actually see... yes, I see Giovanna waving, so I actually see people chatting here. So when I will try to keep an eye on the chat, but Heather will also do that. And I'm super happy to be interrupted when I'm talking and, blah, blah, blah. Whenever you have a question, please put a question in the chat in whichever platform you are using, and we can interrupt what I'm saying and we can answer your questions. So feel free to interrupt me. I would really love it to be interactive. That would be super nice. Yeah, so that's it for the next bit of time. So let's start with OpenRefine, and I will maybe start sharing my screen. Just a second. I will turn it on. That's always a little bit of a challenge, but that will work. Okay, so here we go. Here we have OpenRefine. That's what the tool looks like. OpenRefine is basically, this is what the opening screen of OpenRefine looks like. So this is when you start the tool for the first time, when you open it, this is your welcome screen. Basically, OpenRefine, when you go to its website, openrefine.org, I have beautiful pictures from Wikimedia Commons in my Chrome tabs, so I hope that you will enjoy them in between. So when you go to our website, you will find some explanation about the tool. OpenRefine is basically, when people are asked to describe it very shortly, they call it sometimes something like spreadsheets on steroids, or Excel with big hormones, or something like that. It's basically a tool that you can use to work with very big sets of data, with cleaning data, transforming it from one format to another. And it's actually used a lot by Wikidata editors, because OpenRefine is very popular to use to prepare batches for Wikidata and then upload batches to Wikidata. So it is used in the Wikimedia movement until now, mostly by Wikidatans. It is also used by other people. So OpenRefine, we have actually many users from libraries, the library sector. We often hear that librarians sometimes get really big, data sets from, that are contributed to the library, and they want to import that into their database. And then we use OpenRefine to clean the data, for instance. It's used in the cultural sector by museums. It's used by data journalists to clean data sets and analyze data sets. It's used in digital humanities. So it has lots of uses, but it's also used in the Wikimedia movement. And that's what I'm going to focus on now. How it works is you can go to our website, and it is actually a piece of software that runs on your computer. If you click here on the left, you have a download link, and I'm not going to demonstrate that because it's actually not super hard. You can download it for Windows. It also works on Windows 11. You can download it for the Mac and for Linux. So we have, packages for the 3 platforms. If you use Windows, I actually, thank you so much for sharing that link in the chat. You can actually, I would recommend that you use the kit with embedded Java, because for the technical people in the room, the tool is built with Java, and the version I notice that has already Java packaged with it, the Java, the JDK, works often better on Windows computers. So that's your safest bet. You just click it, download it, and then you open it just like any application on your computer. But when you open it, it will actually not run, it's a separate application, but it will open your web browser and it will create a window like this. So it will actually create a tab in which you interact with the tool. So it will actually, you interact with OpenRefine in your web browser. And that's a little bit interesting, I would say. It has this funny URL. I'm going to put it in the private chat. Maybe Eder can be so kind to share it as well. That's actually a link that goes to your local computer, and that goes to the place where OpenRefine is running on your computer. If you click that now from home, that will do nothing if you don't have OpenRefine running. So that's the URL of OpenRefine on your computer. So it basically runs a little server, and then you can interact with the tool. So this is actually how you get started. I have to say, for Wikimedians, I have a very special tip. Sometimes I hear that Wikimedians or any users of OpenRefine can sometimes not install it on their computers, and you may have different reasons for that. For instance, you are at a workplace where you are not allowed to install software, or maybe for all sorts of reasons. Maybe your computer is not strong enough, although OpenRefine should also run on a bit older computers. And for Wikimedians, you can also run OpenRefine on the Tool Hub in the cloud. And we also have a special link for that, and that is this one. It is called PAWS, PAWS. If you go to this link, it's logged into your user account as a Wikimedian, then you actually go to a place, it's loading in the meanwhile for me, that is, we call a Jupyter Hub. It's driven by Jupyter software. For the techies in the room, that may be something familiar, through which you can run all sorts of applications. You can run, I don't know, all sorts of scripts that you have written yourself. You can run, I know of some people who run Python scripts in here, but you can also run OpenRefine in here. So here you have a button that says OpenRefine, and if you click that, it will also OpenRefine for you, and that will actually be under your own account, but on WM Clouds. So this is what it will look like then. Okay. That's just a tip. I actually use that a lot because, that works just like any OpenRefine, also the local one. The people who maintain this Jupyter thing, this PAWS thing, are always very proactive in making sure that the last version of OpenRefine runs there. And it's just very nice to have that cloud version as well. So that looks exactly the same. So this is the cloud version, and this is my local version. However, there is one small difference now, because you see here, if I make my screen a little bit bigger, oh, that's extremely big. Let me go back. You see here that's on PAWS. I'm now on PAWS here. We still have version 3.5.2. That is the last stable version of OpenRefine. And on my local computer, I'm going to close PAWS. I'm just going to continue on my local computer. But now you know that you can do the pause thing. On my local computer, if I do the same thing, make my screen a little bit bigger, you can see that I am actually running a beta release. We have actually, you are really hipsters here, because you are seeing new stuff. We have just released earlier this week, 3 days ago, a beta version of the next version of OpenRefine. This one is not on pause yet because it's still in beta. But you can already download it. And with version 3.6 and later, so as soon as we do the official release of 3.6, which should be really soon, you can also edit Wikimedia Commons. So I have to emphasize, you cannot edit Wikimedia Commons and structured data on Commons with 3.5 and earlier, but with 3.6 and later you can. So just wait a few days until the new release drops, download that one, 3.6, and you're good to go. You can do the same things as I'm going to demonstrate to you today. So this is new, and it is not even on pause yet. But I really hope that the people from, that maintain the pause installation will also do the update for us very soon. So that's a little bit of how you can run OpenRefine, both locally or on pause. Very nice. Let me also just quickly tell you, in the time that we have now, I will absolutely not be able to tell you everything about OpenRefine. It is a really strong, powerful tool with lots of features, many of which I have actually not seen myself yet or used myself yet. There's so many whistles and bells on the tool that it is really sometimes a little bit intimidating, but we do have documentation. So you can also go to our website and then click on the documentation link, and then you click on official documentation. And this is something that OpenRefine has invested in the last few years. We have actually written quite extensive documentation for using OpenRefine in general. And you see that you have all sorts of different things that you can do with it, how to install it, how to run it, how to start a project, exploring data, transforming data. I will actually not show all these things, but for instance, there is information on Wikibase, including Wikidata. And that's, it's something, if you're interested in Wikidata editing, that you can check. And there's also, for instance, you can use all sorts of scripts, little scripts in OpenRefine, and that's also super well described in our documentation. If you actually want to go into little scripts to transform your data, you find a lot of information here as well and examples. So use our documentation. That's a tip I want to give you. For more documentation we also have information on the wikis. So on Wikidata, let me see. I think it's here. Let's see if that link works. We also have lots of documentation. Yes, here we are. So I will put this one in the chat as well. We have lots of documentation about specifically using OpenRefine for Wikidata editing. So there are all sorts of short videos in here. If you click a little bit further, there is more documentation. I always forget where it is, but we have lots of little videos that explain things. And so this is, I think, many tutorials. This one, the editing subpage here. This is where you actually find lots of detailed documentation about Wikidata editing. And you can look further there and you will find all sorts of information about the steps. So this presentation here will actually focus on Wikimedia Commons. Very recently, like maybe a little bit less than a year ago, we started working on a project for actually also not just adding functionalities for editing Wikidata to OpenRefine, but also editing Wikimedia Commons. And you can find information about that here on Wikimedia Commons. So you also have an info page on Wikimedia Commons. This is still very much focused on what we are developing, and it doesn't have a lot of documentation yet. But now that we are rolling out the features, we will start adding that. So keep this page in mind. You can actually find information. You will be able to find information here on also what I demoed to you today. You will find it here as well. Basically, so as I said, this year we are doing a project to add Wikimedia Commons functionalities to OpenRefine, and we are actually doing two things. We are developing functionalities to take files on Wikimedia Commons that are already on Commons and to add structured data to them. And that is actually almost, I wouldn't say ready, but it is already possible to do that. So I'm going to demonstrate that today. So you can take existing files from Commons and use OpenRefine to add structured data, which is really cool. And we are also busy developing features to make OpenRefine into an upload tool for Wikimedia Commons. So you can upload fresh files to Wikimedia Commons, including structured data. If there are people here who have done batch uploads to Wikimedia Commons before, you may have used a tool like PattyPen maybe, or you may have used just the upload wizard. For instance, PattyPen is actually a fantastic tool, and we're really looking at it and how it works because we think it's really user-friendly. But with PattyPen, you cannot add structured data yet. So it is only about, uploading files with only wiki text. And actually with OpenRefine, you can do both. We are very close to, releasing that as well. It's already almost ready in a bare bones way. So that's, we're getting there. Our project runs until the end of October. Probably in the next months, we will already release the very bare bones functionalities to upload things, and then we will add some features to make it more user-friendly, because it is a little bit still for advanced users, I would say, and we want to make it easier. Okay, I've talked a lot about OpenRefine in general, but it's probably just nice to demonstrate what it does, right? So you know where to find information about it, and you can check the documentation if you want to know more. But yeah, OpenRefine, as I said, it is like spreadsheets on steroids. It is a very strong piece of software with which you can take really big data sets and transform them. But you can also take things like, a list of files on Wikimedia Commons and then do stuff with it. And I'm going to do just that. I thought, maybe I can use an example from Wikimedia Commons that I have uploaded myself. So let me just go to Wikimedia Commons. And that's a nice otter. It's always a surprise. This is like a gadget, like an extension in my browser that shows random images in new tabs from Wikimedia Commons, and it's always a pleasure to see what shows up. That's just for entertainment. Okay, let me look for photos from a Dutch photographer, Jan Geerling. I'm quite sure that, in the Brazilian context, you have many similar examples. This is a category of photographs by Jan Geerling, this lovely, very kind gentleman. He is a photographer. He has traveled around, especially the Netherlands, but sometimes also other countries, made tens of thousands of photos during his life. Mostly really good photos of buildings and of the cities. And he donated those to, Wikimedia Commons. So he released them under a Creative Commons license. And Wikimedia Netherlands has been mediating to actually upload the photos to Wikimedia Commons. And so we have quite a few categories of photographs by him already. Not all his photos have been uploaded yet, only the ones that have been identified, because volunteers are also helping to, add metadata to them. And for instance, I live in Rotterdam in the Netherlands, and I have uploaded already only 84 photos. I think there are like 1,000, so I still have work to do. But these are the 84 photos of, that he made in the past in Rotterdam. So this is the city where I live, and he made quite a few photos of various buildings in here, and touristy places, and just, interesting streets and places. And when I look at a random photo, I'm now opening this in a new tab, you will see that it is a very classical, just a photograph on Wikimedia Commons. And in this case, I have probably added an artwork template. I'm not entirely sure. With a license, this looks very common. If you click on structured data, you will see that, for instance, there is no depicts statement yet. So there is no information yet on what is shown in this photo, although I know this building and I know that building. And we certainly have a Wikidata item for this building because this is our extremely ugly, well, it's an interesting building, but it's our 1980s central library. So we do have a Wikidata item for this thing. This building, I don't think so. That's just a residential building. It does have some structured data that has been added by bots, so that's totally fine. But there's also not information about that Jan Geerling has been the photographer. I can add that now with OpenRefine. Ooh, that's actually what I'm going to do. So I'm going to demo that right now. First, I'm going to do that in a batch for all these photos at once. All these 84 photos that are about Rotterdam here on Wikimedia Commons. I want to, take those file names and then do stuff with them so that I can add structured data to them in OpenRefine. Now, the first step is, of course, getting all the file names in here, because one thing I will have to do to start is take the list of file names and import these into OpenRefine to, start working with them. So we are in the process of developing actually a specific extension for OpenRefine, a little extra plugin, you could say, that is specific for Wikimedia Commons, that allows you to enter commons categories. Just like you do that in many of the tools that we have in the Wikimedia movement, you just type the categories you're interested in and then it will load the files for you. However, that's not ready yet. So now I have to do a little bit of a complex detour. Forgive me for this. It is just a trick. This will be more user-friendly as we develop. As we finish, we are busy developing it, but we finish the commons category import functionality. Right now, I'm just going to go and use the PetScan tool, which some of you may know. I know that Magnus Manska has been here in the Wikidata Labs as well, and he may have shown the PetScan tool. Here's our author again. So I'm going to go to PetScan. And that's just a handy tool with which you can do all sorts of searches in the Wikimedia projects. It's super extensive tool. I'm just going to say, hey, PetScan, go to Wikimedia Commons. I'm pasting this category here. I hope you see it. I can just make it a little bit bigger. And I only want that specific category, so I'm not going to say category depth. And then under page properties, I'm going to say I want the files. And then I can click do it. Then we wait for 2 or 3 seconds. And then when I scroll down, I see all the file names in here. This is still a little bit like, yeah, how do I copy this or what? But there is also a function on the output tab here that you can check here. There's a plain text radio button. I'm going to check this plain text radio button. I'm going to click do it again. And now I'm just getting a very nice list of plain text file names. And I'm selecting all of these, copy, and I'm going to paste these into OpenRefine. Now, here's where I'm skipping a lot of the functionality that OpenRefine has. You can actually load all sorts of things in OpenRefine. Excel sheets, CSV files, XML files, RDF. If you have an external website somewhere with an API, you can link the API in there and it can suck the data out of your API. You can do Google spreadsheets, you can do many things. I'm just going to do clipboard. So whatever is on my computer clipboard, I'm going to paste here and we go. Super simple. I could also put them in a spreadsheet beforehand. That would also be good, but this is the simplest way. So I'm going to say, hey, OpenRefine, get me a project from clipboards, and I'm going to click next. And then it takes a while. And then first I get a preview screen. This is also something, when we will have the easier way, you just type the category and this will load for you. So now we have to tweak a little bit the things, because it took the file column and it thought, oh, you are giving me a separated file. If you're into data sets, then it thinks that the column is a separator. I'm just going to tell it the column is not a separator, and it also thinks that this first line, which is also a file name, is actually the column names. And I'm just going to say, no, OpenRefine, this is actually, I just want to give this column the title file. So here I tweak a little bit, ideally when we have the new functionality with just entering the categories that you're interested in, that should load it, all of this stuff for you without all this hassle here. But now that looks nice to me. I just have a column that is called file, and I have the file names in here. And yeah, then I have to give it a name, my project. When you use OpenRefine for a while, it has a little bit like a file system in it. it's called projects. Every single data set that you work with is an individual project in OpenRefine, and it's handy to give these like a name that makes sense, because otherwise you will have like 100 projects that are called clipboard, and then when you want to go back to one, you will be like, oh, which clipboard was that? So I'm gonna call it Jan Geerling Rotterdam. And you can also give your project tags. That's just for your own ease and comfort. In my case, yeah, I'm just gonna call it SDC because I do SDC stuff in here, and demo because I'm demoing to you, and I have many demo sets already. And I'm gonna say create projects, and now this is where actually OpenRefine, the core interface of OpenRefine will be shown. So it's loading, and it's taking a few seconds. Yes, here it is. So this is what the core interface of OpenRefine looks like. You have a column on the left. We will soon see what that does. And you have the data area or the data zone or whatever you want to call it on the right. You see that by default, it only shows 10 rows. That's actually a thing in OpenRefine because in the background, there's a lot of calculations always with your data. By default, it will only show you a small selection of your data. That makes it actually a little bit faster to calculate. But in this case, we have a very small data set of 84 rows. That's not very big. So you can actually switch to the number of rows to see more rows, and that you do here. So you see show 5, 10, 25, 50, and I will click 100. And then we will see all the 84 rows, all the 84 file names. So now we have a project in OpenRefine with just file names. This is a little bit boring. You can actually just click, you see a little edit button here, and then you get a pop-up in which you can actually see and change the text of, the file name. But this is just a plain text file name. This doesn't mean anything. There is not a link to Wikimedia Commons yet. And as a first step, you have to tell OpenRefine that all these files are, all these things, all these little strings are actually files from Wikimedia Commons. So what we want to do is called reconciliation. People who already did some Wikidata editing with OpenRefine may already have heard of that concept or have used it already. Reconciliation is basically that you take usually a column in your data sets and you connect it, you link it to an external database, and in this case, it's Wikimedia Commons. Basically, what we're going to do with reconciliation here is actually look up all those file names and then make sure that OpenRefine knows where those files are on Wikimedia Commons. And for that, I'm going to...
Sandra?
Yes, I see that there's a question that I cannot understand because my Portuguese is non-existent.
Yes. Lucas is asking if OpenRefine converts the Wikimedia Commons file name to the image ID, the M identifier.
Exactly. That is exactly what we are going to do here. Yes.
Oh, great.
Yeah, that's the reconciliation, what we're going to do. So that's exactly what I'm going to show you. So it's going to make the link to Wikimedia Commons, but actually to the M identifier, which is really cool. And that was something that, if you wanted to do batch editing with quick statements, which some people may have done in the past, you can do SDC batch editing with quick statements, but then you have to look up the M numbers first, and you have to use a different tool, which is, I think, maybe you use Minefield for it or another tool, I don't know. But this is what we do here. So we built that into OpenRefine. So let me demonstrate it. The basic way with which you interact with data in OpenRefine is by going to the top of your column, and there's this little like arrow pointing down. It's very subtle and small. This thingy opens a menu. And that menu is the source of all the powers. It has many, many, many different functionalities. And because this session really focuses on structured data and commons, I'm actually not going to show a lot of these. Maybe I will show a few just to give you an idea. You can actually do things like searching. For instance, I want to see all the files in my set here that are about the building Paperclip. We have a very funny building in Rotterdam, which is, if you would fly over it, it has the floor plan. It's a really big apartment building. It has the floor plan that looks like a paperclip, you know, but we spell it in a Dutch way. So paperclip, like this. And when I type this, I will make my screen a little bit smaller again. You see that my set, which was originally 84 files, I think, is now only 18 rows anymore. So you can search and make your sets narrower. So you can actually make your set smaller and look at specific subsets of your data and operate on subsets. That's one very strong functionality. So this is one way. Another one is basically not something I can easily demonstrate here, is a facet. That is basically that you create something like faceted browsing. Like for instance, if there would be three rows with the same value, then you would be able to click it and only select that one. But because every line is now unique, this doesn't make a lot of sense. But sometimes you have data sets where you have like, you know, a column with countries, and you have like, I don't know, 50 items that are about Brazil and 20 items that are about Peru and 50 items that are about Bolivia, etc., etc. And then you can actually filter these with the facet function. This is really quick to show you a few basic functionalities. You can do so much more. But so this is one way to narrow down. And yeah, just so that you know that that is possible, because it's something that you might use. But I wanted to show you reconciliation and actually the looking up of the n numbers. And we do that by going here to the lowest thing in the menu, reconcile, and then we say start reconciling. And if you have installed OpenRefine for the first time, you will only see the Wikidata one. So you can reconcile with Wikidata. So for instance, in my example that I just gave, the fictional example where you have a column with countries and you want to look up these countries on Wikidata, you can do that with the Wikidata reconciliation service. But in this case, we will actually look up the file names on Wikimedia Commons. So we don't need Wikidata, we need Wikimedia Commons. We have developed a reconciliation service for that as well. And a new feature, I will make my screen a little bit smaller. A new feature in 3.6 is that you have a button now, Discover Services, where you can actually, when you click that, you go to a list of all the, well, not all the known, but all the officially registered reconciliation services on the internet. And Wikidata is the first one in here, but you can also search this page for Commons. And you will get a URL here. What you have to do then is you copy this URL here. So it is actually this one, and I will also paste it in the chat so that it can be shared. And this is the place where you find the reconciliation services. It is called Test Bench because people who build reconciliation services also test them here. And I'm just going to copy this link. And going back here, I say add standard service, and then I paste the Commons reconciliation service here. As you see in the link that has been shared in the chat as well, you see that it has this EN thingy in there. Language, you can change the language actually even of the reconciliation service. Let's say that you want to indeed work in Portuguese, then you might just change it into Portuguese. I will just do that. My Portuguese is, as I said, non-existent, but I had I had French in school, and so I think I should be able to at least understand very vaguely what it's all about. So we will work in Portuguese. I will not speak Portuguese because that would be terrible, but that's just, I think I will be able to read it, and otherwise I will say like, help me. Okay, so we will do it in Portuguese. I'm adding the Wikimedia Commons reconciliation service in Portuguese. You probably also have a code for Brazilian Portuguese even, but I'm not sure if that works. So yeah, I'm now distracted by this thought. I want to investigate that. In any case, we click Start Reconciling, and then, that maybe will take a few, well, that's going fast enough. I should maybe have narrowed it down a little bit, but it's okay. Reconciling always takes a little bit of time. It is something, there's a little bit of an algorithm that actually goes to your external database and that runs through the database and does quite a bit of searches. And I think for Wikidata, there's even some Sparkle going on. So you usually have to wait a little bit. And if you have very large data sets, you always have to calculate. Keep in mind that you will need a bit of time when you do reconciliation. So that was not super smart of me to do all of them together, but it's okay. It's not too horrible. But so basically what it's doing now is it is looking up all these file names on Wikimedia Commons and retrieving the MIDs for each of these. In the meanwhile, I see that the link also has been shared. There's actually also a separate information page about the reconciliation service for Commons. That is this one, and that one also has a little bit of documentation in it with the demo video. So it is, while we wait, it is actually helpful to know this. Here. All of these are also linked from our info page on Wikimedia Commons. So this one here, there is also a little video with me explaining how to do what I'm just demoing now. And in the meanwhile, while I was filling all this time with talking, we have reconciled the file names. So you see that it looks different. They are not just, gray or black text anymore, but they are blue texts. And actually, if you hover over them, you will get a little pop-up and you will see a little preview of the image. We still need to tweak it a little bit that the image is actually the right aspect ratio. I actually have to create a fabricator's ticket for that. So now if I, let me see, copy link address, that should actually be the entity number. So it has actually already made a link to the entity number. And if you're so inclined, it is actually not necessary, but you can now add a column with the M numbers. So you can go to reconcile again, and then add entity identifiers numbers, but it's actually not needed even for the process. But I can say MID, okay, and then it should create a new column here. Ta-da! And here we have the MIDs. So I hope that makes people smile. But as I said, we don't need this even. So I'm even going to remove this column, edit column, remove this column. We don't need it. Because why is this helpful that we now have these links here to Wikimedia Commons? Now OpenRefine can do all sorts of stuff with it. And one of the things you can do, and that is actually crucial to be able to do structured data additions to these files, is, for instance, that you go to the wiki text and you retrieve some information from the wiki text and you extract that from the wiki text, and then you can reconcile it to come to Wikidata, and then you can do the edit to Wikimedia Commons. So I'm going to show you how I can create additional columns next to each image here that, for instance, shows, let's say, the wiki texts. That's quite interesting. We can use the wiki texts. And what else? Maybe what is depicted? Maybe some of the files already have depict statements. In this case, I'm going to do it with a smaller set to just make it go a little bit faster. So I am going to remove these facets here, and I'm going to say, what am I going to do? I'm going to make a word facet, which is basically giving each word that is occurring in this column, and it shows me how often it is occurring. So I chose that facet, and then I clicked on count, and then I see the most frequently occurring words. And of course, Rotterdam is there a lot, and 2005, because the photos have been made in 2005. But I am, for instance, interested in, let's say, the paperclip, and also in the Delft Poort. Delft Poort is, if you have ever been in Rotterdam, when you exit the train station, it's this really big skyscraper. It's a very famous building. So I want to work with those two. Include. I'm just gonna select both. As you can see, I have selected the paperclip one and I have selected the Delft support. These are 25 files that I'm just gonna work with, just for the demo right now. First, I want to add some columns. So I'm going to go to Edit Column. And then I say Add Column from reconciled values. You need to know a little bit where all these functionalities are. That's what we're going to document also, so that people can just follow step by step. So we say Add Columns from reconciled values. And then, here's where we see the Portuguese. If I would have said English, this would have all been in English. I am interested in the wiki text. That's amazingly similar to English. And why not depicts? What is depicts? Retrata?
Is retrata, yes.
Yes. Portrait, yes. Okay. And it already gives you a little preview. So you see that it will, produce a column with the wiki text and will produce a column with the depict statements if they are there. I will do that. And now it should be a little bit faster because I only have 25 files. Yeah, that's going a little bit faster. 80%, that's good. Exciting.
Sandra?
Yes?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
This column that you are working, the retrata one that depicts, it shows the elements, each one in a row, or can I split it in other columns? How does that work?
That's a good question. So if, for instance, this file would have had 2 or 3 depict statements, then it would have created a row and another row and another row with the 3 depict statements. And then, yeah, you can continue working with them as they are. Usually, the most useful thing is usually, I would say, in the wiki text, because you want to extract things from the wiki text. And I usually only show the structured data just to verify that there is already structured data and not so much to operate on it. But there might be situations where the structured data is wrong and you want to remove it. So that is very possible. But so it will indeed, if there are different statements, it will just create additional rows underneath each other with the different values under each other. So it will not be comma, 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 but it will be really different cells. If it answers your question. Yeah, yes. You're welcome. But so, yeah, in this case, we have the wiki text, and it is actually a really simple set. They have been uploaded in a batch and all have been, uploaded in a very similar way. I think I did this one with PattyPen. So you see that the wiki text is extremely simple. It has some information about the photographer. There is a title. I can actually extract the title. That's maybe a good idea. I will do that. So the next thing I would recommend to do in this case is actually, usually your wiki text will already contain interesting stuff. Maybe in the categories there will be interesting things that you might want to take and then use for structured data. And that is also something we are building. We are building various little pieces of scripts that will make it very easy for you to say, oh, I have a photograph template here. It's photograph templates. It wasn't artwork. I apologize. Photograph template here. And there is always a title, and I want to turn these titles into captions, file captions. So we will make little scripts. We are actually busy doing that. It's not been deployed yet. That's also going to be in this Wikimedia Commons extension plugin, where you can actually just say, take the photograph template and give me the title inside the photograph template, or give me all the categories. Right now, you still have to do a little bit of weird code for that. That is also something I can actually now document on the wiki. I can do edit column, wait, edit cells, transform. So you can also do lots of transformation things with data in OpenRefine. That is also a very powerful part of the software. that you can, take existing cells and do all sorts of things with it, extract bits of data from it, split it, join columns to create, I don't know, like to create a caption or create a good file name or things like that. Or yeah, so you can do all sorts of modeling with, the data that you have, and you do that through transformation functions. There's, many different things you can do: search and replace, cleaning up capitals, making small letters from capitals, removing spaces, all these things. That's something that OpenRefine is really strong at. And this function, this transform function, actually gives you even the possibility, as I mentioned a bit earlier, to use little pieces of script to, look for specific kind of strings. If you know regular expressions, you should be able to use regular expressions here as well. I don't know them, but maybe some people do. Then, you have all the power. You can do so many things in here. I am not a coder. I don't write software. I don't use scripts at all. So usually, as I said, in our documentation, in our OpenRefine documentation, we have a lot of example GRAL functions. But I often also just Google, like, oh, I want to join two columns with a word between them. How do I do that in OpenRefine? Then I Google join columns, OpenRefine GRAL, because the scripting language is called GRAL. And then, yeah, many people have documented that on the internet. So you will always find, help on the internet. So use Google. Just search for whatever you want to do in terms of, scripting, and you will find examples of scripts. And if you've used scripts for a while, you will actually have a history of scripts. So I'm now clicking in the same window, my history tab, and you can see that in the past, I've used all sorts of scripts. And one here, I have to thank Alicia Fagerving from Wikimedia Sweden. I am totally mispronouncing her name. I hope she's not watching and then hitting me on the head or shaming me on Twitter. But Alicia is also a power user of OpenRefine, and she has already created some scripts, actually not in GRAL, but in a Python variant, in Jython, which I will just steal and reuse, which is gonna take the, what was it again? The title from the wiki text, and I have to tweak it a little bit because there are spaces. Yes, so I will put this in the chat as well. It is beautiful, beautiful, beautiful scripting thingy. As I said, we are building features to make this easier so that you don't have to, look up this complex scripting thing, but we will just have very simple functions that you can say, I want a title, that's it, right? But now you still have to do this. Okay, so we see here a preview. This looks really good to me. I'm getting a little title in here. Excellent, is exactly what I want. Okay, so, but I'm doing it wrong. I'm sorry. I am actually saying that I am going to transform this specific column, and I want to add another column based on it. So I'm just going to copy this, edit column, add column based on. So what I'm doing here, so first I was actually going to, but that was not the best idea that I ever had, was to replace the wiki text with just only the title, but then I lose my wiki text, and that's a bit stupid. So now I'm actually opening the same window, but I'm saying I want to keep my wiki text column and create a new column for me with just this title. So I am going to name it title, and I am going to paste my expression in here. And oh, I know why. Let me see. I'm now very confused because, what's going wrong here? This is what you get with live demos, right? I'm going to go back because it worked with the previous one. I think it's because I am not mentioning the name of the column in here. I'm not fully sure. Yeah, I'm not getting the title back. That's why, you know, we are doing these new graph functions to make this easier. So I am going back to my previous ID, edit cells, transform. I have no idea why that worked. And okay, so. Oh, I do know why. I'm sorry. Oh, I selected grel. Oh, I'm sorry for this tweaking, but so you see that even someone who has used OpenRefine for a long time sometimes still makes mistakes. Edit column, add column based on this column, and I have to switch the language to Python. That's where it went wrong. Oh, ta-da. Whew. I'm very happy that I discovered my own mistake. Title. Okay, so what I'm doing here is my original intention. I want to keep my wiki text column because maybe I want to do other cool stuff with it. And based on my wiki text column, I'm just going to extract the title, and I want the title in a new column. Here we go, title. Voila. And maybe I want to also have a column that says just the building that is in there. Why not? So I'm going to say edit column, add column based on this column. Why not? Yeah. When we do, then I will name it building. Okay. And I'm just going to copy over the title. And I can clean it up a little bit later. Okay. Gebouw Delft support. But I actually want this to become the pure name of the building without any. Gebouw is actually the word for building in Dutch. I'm just gonna do it like this, Delft support. And so I'm actually editing this one cell, but when I click apply to all identical cells, then all the cells that have this word in it will be changed in here, Delft support. And this one as well. I'm just going to say Delft support. Okay. This looks good to me, Delft support. And then we also have the paperclip. Oh, I'm going to leave that one. And here I'm just going to say paperclip. Apply to all identical cells. Okay, so now I have a column title that I think, I want to turn into the caption for the file caption in structured data. And then I have the building, which I want to say, the file depicts this building. But in order to be able to do that, I actually have to tell OpenRefine which Wikidata items these are, because structured data is basically linking, describing files on Wikimedia Commons with Wikidata items. So here, this is a little bit like a new twist that you have to do when you start working with OpenRefine in Wikimedia Commons, is that you may have to reconcile in two ways. You have to first reconcile your file names to Wikimedia Commons, but then anything that you want to be structured data that has to point to Wikidata, you will have to reconcile to Wikidata. So you have actually two reconciliation actions that you need to do. So I here will do, again, start reconciling, but with Wikidata in this case, and I'm just going to use the English one. And apartment building. Well, yeah, let's see how that goes. Start reconciling. And then we have Wikidata reconciliation going on. That should go quite fast because we don't have many different values. Okay. It's funny that it's at 100%, but then it's still waiting a little bit. And yeah, because we took the type apartment building, this Delft support thing is actually not an apartment building, but it's an office building. So I will search for it. Delft support. It's not a former city gates. It is the building Delft support. It is this one, Twin Towers skyscraper. So you see that this one has also been reconciled, but in this case with Wikidata, you see a little picture of the building here. This long text will not have been reconciled, but that's okay. And then the paperclip. This is the housing complex, and you see the aerial photo. It's really tiny, but it looks like a paperclip from the air. All right. By the way, one thing you don't have we are working with files here, and you can hover over them and you see little thumbnails, but that's a little bit like, oh, not so much. We know that it's going to be nicer. It will be nicer if you will actually have bigger thumbnails for files to work with. So that's also something we are planning to develop and to include little previews that are a bit bigger than the ones in the pop-up that you can turn on and off, and that you can even click on and see the images, so that you can actually work with images in OpenRefine. That's brand new. We haven't done that before, but we will hopefully still build that before October. So now we have a reconciled column. We have captions. I can actually go and start editing Wikimedia Commons. And to do that, there's actually 2 steps again that I need to do. People who have edited Wikidata with OpenRefine already, they know that they have to go to a Wikibase schema here. So you go to Wikibase schema. But however, this is the one for Wikidata. So if I actually would start doing things here, I would maybe even get errors. See, I'm getting the error. This column is reconciled to the identifier space of commons, but this input requires a column reconciled to Wikidata. So basically you have to add another website to OpenRefine. You have to tell OpenRefine that it also needs to be able to work with Wikimedia Commons. And that again is something, of course, I'm getting an issue now it's complaining. That is also something I think that we will include in the Wikimedia Commons extension. And if not, you can easily do it yourself, and we will document it. Basically, you are going to add another Wikibase instance. You are actually going to add another Wikibase, which is Wikimedia Commons. Could also be, any Wikibase website that someone maintains. Maybe you have Brazilian institutions who maintain a Wikibase. They can actually also work with OpenRefine if they like. But I'm going to remove this one because by default you will not have it. You see that there's only one Wikibase instance that currently OpenRefine knows about, and that is the Wikidata one. And you actually can add more Wikibases that you can edit, including Wikimedia Commons. So I'm clicking Add Wikibase, and then it asks me, Sandra, please add the Wikibase manifest. There's a link where you can find Wikibase manifests. So I will also put that link in the chat. Here we go. It's also included in OpenRefine itself, so you should be able to go there. Okay. Here, and you find the Wikimedia Commons one. So this is actually a place where you find many public Wikibase manifests. For instance, the one from Rhizome, that is a website of a cultural institution in New York. The Wikidata one is in here, but also the Wikimedia Commons one. And you click this one, and then you see actually a list, some lines of code. This is JSON code that actually has information about Wikimedia Commons. Where is the API? Where is the Sparkle endpoint, I think? Is that in here? I'm actually not sure if it is in here. Not the Sparkle endpoint, but the reconciliation service, etc. So it has all these informations in here. And you can either copy paste this code, but it's even better if you click on raw, then you go to the raw code, and then you will get a URL as well. You will get the code in a separate page with a URL, and then you can paste that one for the manifest in here, and you say add Wikibase. And now I have Wikimedia Commons. You see the logo in here, added to. I'm going to select it so that it's blue, so that it's active, close. And now you see that in my schema here that I'm going to build, my editing schema, there's Wikimedia Commons selected. And now you see, you don't see add item, but you see add media. Yay, haha. So I am going to drag the file here, and now it's not complaining. Yes. And then I'm going to say add caption in Dutch. Nederlands. I am taking, then you can just drag and drop. This is familiar for people who did the Wikidata editing already in OpenRefine. Basically, this is a little bit like, I don't know, yeah, it's called a schema. It's a place where you construct how your edits will look. And I am going to say depicts, and then I am taking that building. You also see little green lines underneath. That means that it's a reconciled column, that the column has been reconciled or connected to an external database. So I click depicts the building in here. And why not? I can actually also add the name of the photographer, because that information was also not in there. I'm going to say creator. Okay. And you can type as well. So if all the information in your entire data set is the same, you don't even need a column in your original data set. You can also just type in the schema. And in this case, I'm just going to type that gentleman's name, Jan Geerling. Okay, and we have two people with that name. It is the Dutch photographer. And we describe photographers on Wikimedia Commons by saying objects has role, photographer. All right. So basically, for all the files that I have in my data set in here, I am going to say in my schema, give it this caption, file caption. Let's say that it depicts the building, and say that it is created by Jan Geerling and he was a photographer, the photographer for the file. You can check your edits as well. You can see under the preview tab that you can check what your edits will look like. So you can see, for this file, the Gebouw Delft support, the creator is Jan Geerling, that looks good to me, and depicts Delft support. That looks good to me. And the caption is also in here, and it says that it's in Dutch. This all looks very nice. Yeah. Sometimes when you make mistakes or there's things that you've done wrong, you might see issues in the issues tab in here. So there will be little warnings, but now I've done everything perfectly. It looks really, really good. So my edits should be totally good. And I am then going to say, again, under Wikidata in here, I'm going to say upload edits to Wikibase. So basically you can do two things when you want to do the batch edit, I'm sorry. You can either export what you have just done to quick statements and then use quick statements, but you can actually also directly edit Wikimedia Commons with OpenRefine right now, and that's what I'm going to do because it's just easier, it's quicker, it can do just as much. You can say upload edits to Wikibase, and then I will enter my username and my passwords. Just bear with me while I do that from my password manager. And I am logging in. This looks good. And yeah, depicted. And then I'm just giving an edit summary. Depicted building and photographer. And I am going to click on upload edits. And it's gonna batch edit Wikimedia Commons, this small set of files. Let me just check my contributions on the Wikimedia Commons. Here we go. Indeed. So you can see that my edits are being, done in here. You even see that the edits get a little tag, OpenRefine. We can verify that the edit has gone well by opening a photo. So this is what the building looks from the outside, the paperclip. It's a funky building. It's apparently quite nice to live there. It's a big, nice community feeling. So we have a Dutch caption right now. And when I go to the Structured Data tab, it indeed depicts the paperclip, the building, and we have the photographer in here. I can also go to the file history and see that has happened. An additional thing, and I'm super happy that we have that as well. Suppose that you made huge mistakes. It has already happened to me. I do a lot of testing of this, because that's my role in the project. Make sure that we find the bugs and remove them. Sometimes, yeah, mistakes happen. Like I do wrong things in the data modeling, and it's like, oh shoot, can I revert that? And actually, you can. So, of course, you can do it on the individual level. I'm just gonna compare the revisions in here. So you see in revisions that one edit has been done with all these, statements added here, and I can just undo this. But there's also after the edit summary, there is a details link, and that actually goes to a tool that is also available on Wikidata, but now also Wikimedia Commons, which is called Edit Groups, and that is a tool with which you can undo entire batches. And that's amazing. I've already done that in the past. So here you see my specific, batch that I have just done. It's apparently, oh yeah, it should have been finished. It only shows the last 10 ones. You see that 25 edits have been done, but I can actually say undo entire group and then, remove the edits. And I think even, where was it again? It should be possible to see all the edits that have been done in OpenRefine. I cannot directly see it. I'm sorry. Yeah. In any case, we have a tool as well to undo edits, and that is really nice. If you make mistakes, then you can fix your mistakes. Yeah, that's basically the process. And I see that I've done that in an hour, which is really nice. So if people want, we can, take questions now. So we are also developing the upload features. I actually just told Eder in the beginning, it is actually already possible to upload files, but it is really, really, really experimental. So I was a little bit, I don't think I'm going to demonstrate it yet, but I have submitted an application for Wikimedia for August, when it will probably already be a little bit more stable or even already part of an official release. And then I will also do a tutorial of uploading. So by that time, I feel actually secure to show uploading to a bigger audience. However, we are ready for testing the uploading with people who are a little bit tolerant of experimental software. And I just told Eder, but I'm also going to tell it to you as a group as well. If you have any, existing small batches, not thousands of files, but maybe a dozen or 50 files or 100 files that you want to upload in the next, I don't know, few months, you don't have a big deadline, and you're okay with it being a little bit experimental, then I would be super happy to actually test also with the Brazilian upload. We already have some people I put a request on the GLAM mailing list a few days ago, and I already got some responses from various places, New Zealand and Sweden, and someone from the Netherlands. But it would be fantastic to also have one from Brazil. So if someone has, upcoming small uploads lying around that we can experiment with, I would be super happy to do that. And please get in touch with me, because that's coming very soon, and we are really excited about it. So yeah. I think I will be happy to take questions, or if people want to see something again or want to have questions about specific parts of what has happened in here. Yeah, I can also still show, this doesn't give a big difference, but yeah, show what it looked like.
Thank you, Sandra. We will take questions on the chat. If people write, I can hear and translate. But I have a question.
Excellent.
Question.
Yes.
How the edit is made on the structured data on Commons? OpenRefine connects with an API for structured data on Commons. How is this developed on Wikimedia Commons?
Ooh, now you're asking not a technical person. I think it's indeed it's just as the API call, like it pushes the edit, but I would actually have to take that to our to our developer to ask how it's being done. I do know
Okay.
that with uploading, it is a little bit more complex because you have several API calls. We have had a little bit discussion about that for people interested in that or people who have used bots before. So you have a separate API call for the wiki text and then afterwards for the structured data. So it actually, touches the API twice. And it would actually be a little bit easier if it could be just one API call. Although, yeah, it's not, it's not a terrible problem, but yeah, so that's something we have been figuring out that, and hearing from bot operators as well, that's a bit of an issue that now with structured data you have to do two API calls. So I do assume it's just a general API call that is being done.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
And I have a great news here. Ismael Olea
Yes.
says that it is interested interested in trying the beta testing with the upload feature. So I will ask if you can share your contact information with people so they can reach out to you,
Yes,
or
you can
the Slack
email
channel.
me. Yes, indeed. For people who are very interested, as in, you'll want to hear everything we are doing. It's totally open. We have a Slack channel for our development team, for the Structured Data and Commons development team in OpenRefine. There's now 8 or 9 people in there, and everyone is welcome. But it is a little bit like our everyday chatter, I am trying this and this is not working, and etc. So that's a place, if you would like to join it, reach out to me because you would be super welcome there and hang out with us. You can also just email me. So I will put my email address in the chat here as well. And of course, I don't have to type errors. Feel free to send me an email there. And I am also for the very daring people who want to try very, very new, fresh experimental features. You can actually go to our GitHub repository. This is the one. And if you scroll down there a bit, you will see that there is a header with snapshot releases. Basically, these are like the daily automatic releases that are from the freshest code that is actually built on that day. So that can, it can be dangerous for your, no, it wouldn't be dangerous for your computer, but you always have to be a little bit careful with that. And if you would download a snapshot release now, you would see that you would download a version 3.7 already, which is, so we are now in 3.6 beta, but we are already working forward to 3.7, and that already has the upload functionalities. It is totally undocumented, so it needs a bit of explanation. It's probably good if, you can be daring and try, but you have to do things with file paths and with file names and reconciliation and then creating new things. It needs a little bit of explanation. Maybe you figure it out for yourself, but if not, I will be super happy to go through it with you. And I'm actually thinking, I'm of course, still figuring out how to do this thing. Maybe I should just create for now a Google Doc for the daring people, like these are the steps you need to take, and this is how you can try it. Maybe I will just do that for the people who really, really are keen to try it and give feedback. But you can already do it. It is already there. I did one upload before this session just to try if it worked, and it worked. So, so Ismail, if you want to give it a try, just see how far you get.
I think that's great. Thank you, Sandra. I think that it's very interesting for the Tainacan institutions that use Tainacan for their because they have a similar structure of structuring data on their database and making a round trip to Wikimedia Commons and back
Yes.
to the institution. I think that's a powerful move to integrate OpenRefine and Tainaka and Wikimedia Commons, Wikidata. That's a very powerful hub of data. I think Ismail has another question. No problem tweaking. Just needs to
Yes.
find the time. Oh, there's a
You probably then did
significant.
that with quick statements, I assume. Yeah, it's getting dark here.
Yeah.
So I assume, Ismail, that you then did like the data preparation in OpenRefine, and then you did an export to quick statements. Because what I just showed, like the actual upload through OpenRefine, that should maybe you you did something that I didn't know was possible. But yeah, but it's indeed
we
also
we
already,
experimented.
yeah.
We experimented with OpenRefine, I think, back in January, where
Mm,
but we have a lot of background work to find the entity ID on
yeah.
Wikimedia Commons, then
Mm,
make the Wikidatification of the metadata,
yes.
um, and
Yeah.
send it through quick statements.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
Lucas, that asked a question uh, earlier, has done this in
Hmm.
Wikimedia Commons. I have no experience with the structured data commons quick statements. I have added by hand,
Hmm.
but I'm excited to try with our not only with our GlamWeek partnerships. We have a lot of uh, batch images to upload, but we maybe we can try small batches specifically for through OpenRefine in order to test and give
Yeah.
feedback. I think
Hmm.
feedback is important.
Yes. Yeah, and I would say if you find bugs or you find things that you don't really find logical, we would actually be delighted if you would submit GitHub issues, because the more people test it, the more people will discover things. I've done a lot of testing myself already. If you would look at the edit history in OpenRefine and Commons, you will see that most have been done by me because done all sorts of batches. But of course, you cannot discover everything. And believe me, we're super happy if people submit issues. We don't think like, you're a nagger. On the contrary, it's like, yay, someone found a bug and we know something to fix. So please, you're helping us a lot if you do that. Don't be shy. And also, if you have ideas for better features, like this thing that I'm doing here is a little bit annoying, and maybe it can be done better this way. Also, that's also very welcome. We will be happy to receive those.
All right. I think if people don't have any more questions, they can always send, put on the chat your email, Sandra, and they
Yes.
have the event page as well with all the details. We will have a practical activity to test OpenRefine, I think in 12 minutes.
Cool.
And
Nice.
um, we will give feedback of what will go on this activity. But people can, I put on the link on the chat, people can access the Google Meet. We will talk on Google Meet, mainly Portuguese, but we can accommodate English people that want Anglophone people that want to participate as well. I'll put the link here. I think it works. Yes. And thank you again, Sandra. It's always nice to have you here, always with a lot of powerful work that you develop and coordinate. And thank you again. I think you are one of the most participant hosts of Wikidata Labs. I think this is the third or the fourth one.
Mhm.
So thank you again, and we'll keep in touch.
Yes, let's do that. Thank you so much. And good, happy refining.
Yes.
Enjoy it.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye
Bye,
bye.
everyone.